Hey guys, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my top favorite books from 2021. It is January 1st, 2022, and I'm so excited for this new year. 2021 was it was a good year for me for reading, but it was hard on all aspects, especially towards the end, personally for me, but I did have some really great moments, and I had so much fun growing my channel, and I just want to thank you guys so much for subscribing and watching my videos and showing me some love, because I really appreciate it. So a lot of people do like top 10, and I just could not pick just 10 books that I loved this year. So I have like maybe 20, I don't know, but one of my favorites is the Mind F series by St. Abbey. It is so freaking good. I like binge read all of the books in this series, and they're all kind of like short novels, and it's about this woman who is a serial killer, and she's killing off these guys who had wronged her in her past, and she's falling in love with an FBI agent on the side, and he's actually like on her case trying to figure out what type of killer she is and all this stuff, and it's really good. I think that's like one of my favorites. It's so good. So let's get right into the rest of them. All the rest of them are physical books because I just love them so much, so let me grab it.
About to leave, already packing.
Okay, so the first book is called Lover Revealed by Jerry Ward. I wanted to put this in here because Butch is my favorite out of the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, and he falls in love with a human. It wasn't so much of this book that I loved so much the storyline, but it was more just I love Butch's character so much, and him and Marissa were just so adorable, and he falls in love with a vampire, and it's just so good. I love this series so much, so definitely go check it out. Butch is my favorite. Next one is called Lady Goldie by Kalia Reed. I love this book. This one is super emotional. This is the first book for Nat's story. So Natalie, she has always been in love with this guy since she was young, and this is actually an historical romance, and I've talked about this a couple times on my channel. But it is during, I think, the 1920s, maybe 1930s, I can't remember. But she's always loved the same guy, and it's just never been the right time for them. And so she was married before, and so now I think her husband died or something happened with her husband. So now she's back in town, in their small town, and she wants him back, but he's getting married, and so she decides to crash his wedding, but he ends up getting married anyways. And so it's kind of their tumultuous relationship and them kind of finding their way back to each other, and he's kind of realizing that it was the wrong choice to marry his wife because she's kind of psychotic, and you'll see in the book, but it was just so good, and I recommend reading the other trilogy before this because it really builds up Nat and our heroes' chemistry. But it just was so good, and it left on a cliffhanger, so I'm super excited to see what's going to happen in the next book. It's supposed to come out this coming year, so I'm just dying to read it. So definitely read this one if you haven't. It's so good. Kalia Reed is freaking amazing. Okay, so the next two books are a part of the same series, and that's ACOTAR. I got into the A Court of Thorns and Roses series this year. It was the best decision I ever made. So I first read A Court of Thorns and Roses maybe like 2018, early 2019. I can't really remember correctly, but I remember hating the first book like so much. I don't know why I hated it so much, but then when A Court of Silver Flames came out in 2020, I think, I just was like, okay, well maybe I should try to read the series again. And that's when I fell in love. And so I have A Court of Mist and Fury on this because I love it so much. Look at this gorgeous cover. It's gorgeous. I love Fair and Reese so freaking much. I ended up reading this twice this year because it was so good. And then I also have A Court of Silver Flames. This one was incredible. I just loved Nesta's character so much. And she grew so much, and I loved how casting formed her. And I love the storyline of this book. I cannot wait for the next one. I'm so excited for House of Blood and, or Earth and Sky, I think. And I'm just dying to read that one. This is so good. I just love my fairy babies, my fae babies. So I love it, and I love these covers. This is from A Touch of Magic, I think. I'll link it down below, but I love these covers. They're so pretty. But this is one of my favorite series of all time now. The next one is called The Professional by Cressy Cole. This is a mafia romance, and so I actually filmed this before, but like I wasn't recording. But I was mentioning, which I'll mention again in this one, is that I just read so many mafia books this year, and a lot of them are on this list. But this one was just so good. So I love this one so much because of the action and the relationship. It's very like possessive, obsessive kind of thing. But there's so much action in it, and like I could really feel the chemistry and passion between these two characters. So our heroine, she has never known her biological parents, and so she recently finds out that her father is this like big rich dude in Russia, and so this guy comes to America to find her, to bring her to her father. And so the guy is the hero, and they end up meeting at a bar, and she's like really instantly infatuated with him, and he's kind of like ew, but then he realizes that she's like the person he needs to take, and it's really interesting, and they instantly kind of have this like hate to love thing going on, but like also really intense chemistry, and it's so good. And they both didn't want to fall in love with each other, but they ended up falling in love, of course. And I just loved it so much. There was so much action, angst. It was just so good. And I've heard that the second one isn't that good, but I have those books, so I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I just really love this one. Okay, so the next one is called Death by Laura Thalassa, and I just finished this like this past week, and I absolutely love it. So this is the fourth book in the Four Horsemen series, and of course it's about death, and so he's on his rampage of killing humanity off, and he meets this woman and tries to kill her, and she can't be killed. So they kind of go through this tango and like search for each other across like the United States, and each trying to find each other, each trying to kill each other because he doesn't believe she could be killed. And then he kind of gets really enamored with her, and it's like, well, I should get with this woman. She's beautiful, like she's made for me, the universe has made her for me. And she's kind of like, ew, no, you killed my family, all this stuff. And so they go through this tango, and it's so good. Very hate to love, but he really wants to protect her, and I just love Death's character, and he really opens up that he like really doesn't want to kill off humanity, and he's just been kind of forced to, and he's never enjoyed killing humans, which I thought was really interesting. And there was just so much character growth and amazingness, and the finale of this book was so incredible. So I just loved it, and I love this series, so definitely go check it out. This was so good. Next one is called Dangerous Temptation by Gianna Darling. So this is the first book in a duet that she came out with recently, and this is a Guardian/Ward romance, and it was so freaking good. As you all know, I love Gianna Darling's writing, and this one was just so good. I loved it. So it starts off with our heroine. Her mother's dating this big, like, hotshot, like, billionaire dude, and she is, like, grossed out by him, but he's kind of hot, and he kind of angrily flirts with her, and so her mother something happens to her mother, and so she's now in the custody of him, her mother's boyfriend, and he ends up being the hero. And so they have this, like, crazy chemistry and angst towards each other, but she really hates him because he doesn't seem like he wants her there. And her and her brother get taken to his house in New York, and then they both have to live with him, and it's just so good. And I loved the people that worked for him, like the secondary characters were so well developed and so cute. And it leaves off on a cliffhanger, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen. This one was just so good. I highly recommend this one. So the next one is called The Bratvez Air by Jane Henry and Sophie Lark. So I read a lot of Sophie Lark this year. I've never read anything by Jane Henry, but this one just really called to me, and it is about a Bratva leader, and he is framed for his fiance's murder, and he's in jail. And so the psychologist comes in to evaluate him, And she doesn't know that her father was the one who put him in jail. He's, I think, like the district attorney, or yeah, maybe, I can't remember. But he's like high up in the chain, and so he's really like angered at her because he thinks that her and her father are working on to like get intel on him or something, but she has no connection to her father with her work. And so he ends up escaping jail and kidnapping her so that he can find who killed his fiance. And it's really good. They kind of go off on a like jaunt around the city trying to find who killed his fiance, and they like go to like a fight like scene, like they go to a fighting ring, underground fighting ring, and all this crazy stuff, and it's so good. So definitely recommend. And it was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, so this next one is Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. And so this is an arranged marriage, hate to love romance, and I just loved it so much. So it starts off with our heroine. She is going to this party of a rival mafia family, and she kind of ends up like catching the house on fire. And so her dad is like pissed at her and is like, well, now you have to marry the son of the family so we can have peace. And she's like, no. She met him at the party and he is like a total jerk to her. And so now she has to marry him, and he hates her too. And she actually like ends up poisoning him on their wedding day, and it's hilarious. But I just laughed out loud in this book. And then they kind of have this like hate to love, like angsty passion for each other, and it's so good. And I just love this book so much, and I really like Sophie Lark and cannot wait to read more from her. Okay, so this next one is probably on my top 3 of like 2021. It was so good, and that's Close Quarters by Katie Steiner. This book took me by such surprise. So our heroine, she's supposed to go on a tour around Europe and take photos for her portfolio, and her boyfriend is on a yacht. We're going on a yacht for the summer and kind of doing the same thing, but she didn't want to go on the yacht with him because he's working there and it'd be weird. And so now she sees like the yacht owner and he's kind of enamored with her, and he's like, well, why don't you stay on the yacht and you can take pictures for my company. But he really just wants her there because he really likes her. And she's like, okay. And they kind of have this like weird thing going on where they both like each other, but she's in a relationship with them. They find out that her boyfriend's kind of not good, not a good guy. And the reason why I love this one so much is because he wanted her so badly, but she never cheated on her boyfriend. He like cheats on her. And I just love this book so much. It was so atmospheric with the travel, like it made me want to go sail across the world, and it was just so good. And I thought it was so refreshing that he wanted her so badly, but he wanted her also as a woman, and like an intelligent woman, not just for her body, which I loved. So good. So definitely go check it out. Okay, so this next one is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This one was so good. I read it in early 2021 and I loved it. It was so good. It's kind of like a murder mystery urban fantasy book, and so our heroine, her best friend gets murdered, and kind of a lot of her best friends, and they're werewolves, I think. And she's trying to figure out who killed her friend and her other friends. And so she goes to like the police station, and she enlists this guy to help her out, and his name's Hunt. And so they kind of go on this like trek around the city trying to find clues of who killed her best friend and like what's going on, because other things are happening. And there were just so many plot twists. It was incredible. I love the romance. It was so good. I cannot wait for the new book to come out. It was just so good. I loved it so much. That's really all I have to say. It's kind of fuzzy, but I know I loved it so much. It was so good, and the characters were amazing. Like the development, I really fell in love with her friends, like this other secondary characters that she worked in with the shop. It just was so good, so definitely go check it out. Okay, so this next one is a part of a big series that I love, and that's Kiss the Sky by Kristen and Becca Ritchie. This is by far my favorite, I think, because I love Connor Rose so much, and it's about a group of friends who kind of all get shoved together, and there are 3 sisters and then their respective like boyfriends, and it's just so good. The first one is the Addicted series with Lily and Lo, and they both have addictions, and they kind of go into this fake relationship and feed each other's addictions, but then they start to turn the fake relationship into a real one. That one's really good. And Connor and Rose are my favorite. They're literally absolutely meant for each other. They're both like so crazy and neurotic, but I love them so much. And Rose is kind of a prickly character, but Connor really knows her so well, like her as a person. And there's no way to explain how much I love these characters so much. And they're just incredible, and you really fall in love with them throughout the series. It's one of my favorite series of all time. So definitely go check it out. That wasn't a good like explanation of the series, but it's not just the plot that I love, or like when they, you know, have steamy scenes. It's really how much they care for each other, and I just love it so much. And Rose is hilarious. It's one of the funniest characters I've ever read before. She's hilarious. Okay, so this one is another Mafia, but it's also Gianna Darling, and that's When Heroes Fall, and this one is so freaking good. I read this over the summer, and it's about our heroine who is a lawyer, and she's taking on this case for a guy who is being framed for a murder he didn't commit, and he's kind of a famously known mafioso in New York. And so he's being framed of killing another mafioso. And so she has really had a bad past with the mafia, especially when she was younger. And she doesn't trust them, and so she's very wary of him. But he kind of like opens and warms her up, and it's just so adorable. And they have this like slow burn romance. And so he is on like house arrest, and she has to stay with him in his house, like forced proximity. Enemies to lovers. It's so good. This is a duet, and Dante is one of my favorite heroes of all time. He is just so amazing, and how much he cares for Elena, and I love him so much. It's so good, so definitely go check it out if you haven't. So this next one is called The Maddest Obsession by Daniel Laurie. This is another mafia romance, and it's about a cop and a mafia wife. And so Gianna, she has always kind of had a tumultuous life, especially with the mafia. She's been married multiple different times to different mafia leaders. She's kind of, people think she's this like dumb airhead girl, but she's actually really intelligent, and she kind of plays into that. And so she's gotten in trouble a lot over the years, and he has kind of helped her, Christian, and he really likes her, but she just keeps getting married because she doesn't know what else to do with her life. And if she doesn't marry somebody else, people are going to think she's like free range or something. I can't remember correctly, but it's so good, and I loved their relationship. It was just so good. I highly recommend this one. Her house, and while she's there, she's kind of researching and trying to figure out how to finish up the series, and she comes across this secret manuscript that is about the author's life, and it's insane because like the author, the woman, she has like a crazy life, and the way she thought was like absolutely disgusting. Like you have to read the book to understand, but it's insane. It's like insane. It's so good though. Like I read this in a day. It's mind-boggling. It's crazy. So many twists. You don't know what to believe at the end, but it's so good. Definitely read it. One of my favorite thriller mysteries. I just loved it so much. This next one is called Damage Like Us by Kristen Becker Ritchie. This is the first book in the Like Us series, which is a spin-off series of the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series. And this is about the kids of the sisters. And this is Mafi's story. And so Mafi, he kind of is famous because of his parents, but he's doing like his own things on the side now. And he gets a new bodyguard, and it's someone he has kind of always had a crush on his entire life, and he's like a couple years older than him. It's never been the right time, and he thinks it's just like a silly crush. And so he becomes his new bodyguard, and they instantly kind of have this really good chemistry. But he like doesn't want to get with him because he doesn't know if he feels the same way, but he does, and it's so good. And this just made me fall more in love with all of the characters, and we really see what Mafi struggles with as being in the public eye with paparazzi and fans and stuff. It was just so good. So definitely highly recommend. It's a great bodyguard romance, and I just loved it so much. We have 4 more books left. So this next one is called The Stopover by Teal Swan. I read the second book, which is The Takeover, and I didn't love it that much. I didn't really feel anything with the characters, and I felt like the family dynamic was kind of weird and off. But this one, it was so good. So our heroine has a one-night stand with this like billionaire guy because she gets put on a plane in first class because this guy like almost attacked her or something. And so she has a one-night stand with this guy, and she really likes him, but she's kind of like, eh. It was like a one night, like I'm never gonna see him again. And so the next day when she is going in for her new job, she finds out he's her boss. And they have such great banter. It's hilarious. And she's also on the side while working for him. It's an office romance, and she's trying to figure out this like office mystery, like something's happening where they're like a media company and like information's being leaked or something. But it was so good. I really loved it. I thought their banter was hilarious. This book made me laugh out loud. It was just so good. I really like Teal Swan, so definitely go check it out. This next book I think is my favorite book of 2021, and that's The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This book was just incredible. It's a STEM romance, and so our heroine, she was dating this guy, and her best friend really likes him, and so she's trying to tell her best friend that, you know, you could date him, it's fine, and her best friend just isn't getting it. Like, she feels bad if she dates the guy, so she decides to randomly kiss someone and at her college, knowing that her friend would see, and the person she kissed is the meanest, rudest professor in the college, and it was by accident with her kissing him. And so she kind of goes into this fake relationship with the professor, and it's kind of an Adam Driver fanfic, which I kind of saw it but didn't really, and it was just so good. It was so sweet, super unique. I love their relationship. It was so freaking adorable. And this book was just fantastic. It didn't have anything like a super crazy plot or anything, but that's why I liked it. It was so simple, and it was just so good. So definitely recommend. So cute, grumpy / sunshine, loved it. So this next book kind of took me by surprise, and that's Heart Recapture by Tilly Cole. I read this maybe in spring of this past year, and this is the second book in the Hades Hangman series, and I really loved it. The couple was just adorable. So our heroine, she, as you know, if you don't know about this series, it is about a cult. Like, these women escape this crazy religious cult, and they kind of find refuge in a motorcycle club. And so she probably, our heroine, is the one who is most attached to the cult, the religious cult, because she just can't get it out of her mind that she's like sinning right now. She shouldn't be in this like place with all these like rugged, like kind of harsh men. And so she doesn't want to fall in love with this motorcycle man, and he kind of is already like gone with her. Like, he was like so infatuated with her, but he's so sweet towards her, and otherwise he's very harsh. Like, I love those types of books where the hero is like, it's only for you kind of thing, and I love that. And there's so much action. This is very dark. I think there is sexual assault, sexual abuse, kidnapping. I don't remember what else there was, but it's really good if you are into darkness, and the first book was really good too, so definitely recommend. Absolutely love this book. And the last book is The Sweetest Oblivion by Daniel Laurie. This is a mafia arranged romance, and so our heroine, her sister is engaged to the hero, and it's an arranged marriage, but neither really wants to be together. And so our heroine, she has this crazy chemistry with the hero, and he's kind of like a little bit possessive of her, and they have this flirtation thing going on. Something happens where the sister doesn't end up marrying him, obviously, and she ends up being like arranged to marry him, and it's so good. It was just like a really good slow burn angsty romance, and it was incredible. Absolutely loved it. It's mafia romance, so freaking good. This series is so good. It's worth the hype. Alright, so that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I had so much fun making it. I love all of these books so much with all my heart. They're just so good. So definitely down below, let me know what your favorites are of this year, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes.